Yep, by the way, thanks.
Was that one of the best wins for you this season, given coming across here to Perth and what was on the line?
I think the last game in Perth here was good too, and you know we've had a good win against Port Adelaide and a good win against Sydney away from home as well. So I think what that's showing is that you know when we play our best, we're pretty competitive against most, but we're not sitting in the top four at the moment because we've let ourselves down in some other games. So consistency is what we're looking for, and I'm seeing a lot of good stuff in what we're doing, but I'm still seeing plenty we need to work on. So, you know, we're striving to get better, and it's a really even competition. You know, Melbourne showed that against Port Adelaide this weekend. I've maintained that all year, so we're going to have to improve in the second half of the year to compete against the good sides.
You started well tonight. Had that been a huge focus in the build-up?
Yeah, no more so than the last month, but we did it better today. So I wish we could bottle what it was, but you know, it's footy. I mean, my press conference during the week back in Melbourne, I said that last year was our last 10 minutes of games, and we were the best first quarter side in the competition last year. This year it's our first 10 minutes. The reality is it's just footy. You know, being a really good side from start to finish, regardless of the start, the end, the middle, whatever it is, and that's what we're working hard towards.
When you're unsung, do you feel like you're a top four side and it's just that consistency, as you mentioned, that you need to improve?
It's a good question. I think that I've got a lot of confidence in my players, and some would say, you know, probably you fall in love with your own a bit too much. But I've got enormous respect for the sides that sit in the top four, in fact the top 8, top 10 at the moment. So you know, I think we've shown against the good sides that we can compete, but I can see all the areas we've got to improve, and we're capable of doing it at times, but the good sides do it all the time regardless of circumstance. And that's what we're working towards.
Lindsay Thomas, do you know how serious the leg injury was?
No, he just cramped in his hamstring, so I was a little... I mean, we've got, we think, you know, the best medical physio team in the country, but when they put him back on, I was a bit disappointed because, you know, he's an important player to us, and we didn't want to risk him, but they're so confident in their ability that they thought he was fine. So, but then... Look, I never overrule a medical decision if it's to say he can't come back on, but I can overrule one to put him back on. So I did, but we think he'll be right next week.
So was it cramp both times? Because you mentioned he went back on and then...
Yeah, he actually got a knock in the back, which, you know, which then referred a little bit into the hamstring, but we're really confident there's no muscle damage. But he just couldn't go, he couldn't function at 100%, so there's no point keeping him out there at risk.
Just talk a bit about your defence tonight. The Eagles had 52 inside, 50 entries, 6 goals, so it's not a bad effort.
That was terrific, particularly with the personnel that West Coast have. I think Mark Lacra's, you know, up there, the smartest, most damaging small forwards, but he plays as almost a key forward at times. So he's such a smart player and a good player that, you know, to throw the challenge to Luke McDonald in his first year in his 10th game was a bit of a risk, but I think we all saw from the way Luke McDonald attacks the contest, going back to the flight of the ball in the last quarter was team lifting stuff, and that shows his character. So we're prepared to throw him those big jobs, knowing that it won't overwhelm him. And you know, Kennedy and Darling are terrific players as well. So when you add the smalls around, they're really dangerous. So we were pleased with our defensive performance.
Do you feel West Coast played into your hands a little bit with the way they delivered inside 50? They tended to bomb quite often.
We probably did a bit as well. I think it was more the conditions than anything. You know, I think when it's a bit greasy and the rain came, if you overuse the ball, then you give the opposition a good chance of getting it back. So I didn't think that they played into our hands. I thought they tried to play wet weather footy as we did.
Boom only had 2 possessions in the first quarter, but then 10 touches and a goal in the second. How important was that to getting you guys going and helping the momentum there?
He was just part of the midfield brigade, and I thought he did his job. I think it was, you know, asked the question at the start of the press conference, was it our best performance? I think it was one of our most complete performances, certainly with contributions across the board. Boomer was part of that, and look, he's going to have he gets tagged every week, so he's going to have times when his opposition numbers getting the better of him, but he never gives up, and sometimes if he gets beaten, it's only because the siren rings too early, and then he comes back the next week.
Sorry, there was an incident there where he lashed out at Selwood with a an open palm to the shin. What did you make of that?
Well, I didn't see it, but that's no different. I mean, he's probably asking him to pass it on to Adam. You know, from the last times he's terrorised him around Subiaco, but I think all's not all's fair in love and war, but I think there's niggle and with taggers, and you know, we want Boomer to be disciplined, and I think he does a remarkable job given the treatment he cops.
When he gets tagged, how much does it free up the other guys? How much do you see it as an advantage, because he still seems to get the ball a lot and it frees up the other guys?
Oh yeah, I think so, but I think that's no different to any other team, because you've got a choice. Do you let the good players run around unattended without a specific tag? And if you do, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't a little bit. So you know, we want to develop a midfield unit that is consistent across the board, and if one's down, the next one steps up, and that was pretty evident today.
Do you get anyone back next week?
Yeah, I think we'll Grime has a chance, you know, but our defence, as you said, was really good today, so we'll only bring him back when he's absolutely 100%. And a few other guys sort of starting to get back into. Robbie Tarrant's hopefully going to make his comeback in the VFL, which would be wrapped about, because he's a really important part of our plans.
I think it was just a word on Swallow, 3 games in and his progression now back. It seems to be coming along all right.
Fantastic tonight. By far the best of his 3 games back. Started to do some things that were the Andrew Swallow of previous years. Really dynamic around the stoppages. Really good inside. He's always been a great tackler, but I saw some things from him tonight that, you know, were just thought he's starting to come back to the Andrew Swallow we know. So it was, you know, led by example tonight.
Thanks.